Welcome to Sleep Science Galaxy, where cosmic science is told through the quiet rhythm of stillness. As the outside world slowly recedes and night settles in, this is the moment for you to pause, to rest, and to listen to the deepest movements of the Earth itself. Beneath what seems motionless on the surface, our planet is breathing. An ancient breath called plate tectonics, slow, enduring, and profoundly powerful. Imagine the Earth as a gentle living being, drifting silently through the vast universe, where continents move like dreams, unfolding over millions of years. Right now, you do not need to understand or remember anything at all. Simply relax your body, let your shoulders soften, ease your breath, and allow this scientific story to guide you, slowly, deeply, and gently, into sleep. The Earth never stands still. There is an illusion that most of us carry throughout our lives. The feeling that the ground beneath our feet is the most solid, the most still, the most eternal thing that exists. When we stand quietly, when we lie down, when we close our eyes at night, it seems as though the Earth is resting alongside us. But this is only the way our senses protect us from being overwhelmed by reality. The truth is different, deeper, slower, and far more beautiful. If you could hear the heartbeat of the Earth, it would not thunder like lightning, nor roar like a storm. It would feel like a long, deep, steady breath, stretching across millions of years. Within that breath, the Earth's crust is never still. It drifts, silently, enduringly, without haste, without pause. Like enormous stone rafts, the planet's plates carry continents, oceans, mountains, and cities, gliding together atop a sea of softened rock far below. There is no sound, no tremor strong enough for you to notice. Only movement, quiet and irreversible. We are accustomed to measuring time by heartbeats, by days and nights, by the passing of seasons. But the Earth does not keep human time. To this planet, a year is no more than a blink, and a human lifetime is a small breath lost within an endless chain of time. The slabs of rock we call the foundation of the world move so slowly that your fingernails grow faster. And precisely because of this slowness, the movement becomes safe, gentle, almost meditative. Nothing is forced, nothing happens abruptly. Every change arrives only when it is ready. Try to imagine this. At this very moment, as you are listening, the continent on which you live is already on its way toward another position in a distant future. Not tomorrow, not next year, but millions of years from now. A journey so long it does not require a destination. And because of that, it creates no anxiety. It demands no attention. It simply exists, like a river flowing beneath thick ice, patiently waiting for time to reveal its shape. The majestic mountain ranges that have left humanity in awe were not born from a single violent moment. They are the crystallization of patience. Layer upon layer of rock compressed, millimeter by millimeter lifted, fold by fold formed across millions of years. There is no single moment when a mountain is born. Only a process so vast the human mind can barely contain it. And in the same way, deep valleys, gently curving coastlines, vast plateaus, all of them are the handwriting of time, etched by the slow movement of immense stone plates. There is a very special beauty in this slowness. It teaches us that not all strength needs to be loud. Not all change needs to be felt immediately. The Earth does not rush to become itself. It does not need to prove anything. It simply continues to move, trusting that time will do the rest. And within that trust, landscapes are formed, not as products, as stories told very slowly, very deeply. When we say the ground is stable, what we truly mean is stable within the scale of human life. But at a deeper level, stability does not mean stillness. Stability means maintaining the right rhythm of movement. The Earth's plates do not collide in chaos. They slide, separate, and converge according to laws guided by heat, gravity, and time. It is an ancient dance with no audience, no stage. Yet it has continued uninterrupted since this planet was young. The miracle is this: it is precisely because you cannot feel this movement that you are able to feel safe. If the plates drifted faster, the world would be uninhabitable. If they were completely still, the planet would slowly become silent and cold. Life exists at a delicate balance between motion and stillness. And the Earth found that balance long before humans ever appeared. As you lie down, as your body gradually releases its tension, you are unconsciously mirroring this very planet. Your muscles soften like the Earth's crust drifting atop the pliable rock beneath. Your breath slows, just as the plates move through deep time. There is nothing that needs to hurry, nothing that needs to be achieved. Everything only needs to keep flowing. Perhaps you have never considered that the road you walk each day, the room you are in, the familiar city around you, all of it is on a journey. Not the journey of vehicles or people, but the journey of stone, of minerals, of history compressed into matter. A journey without a map for us, yet one of profound meaning for the planet itself. And within that movement, there are no mistakes, only adaptation. When we allow ourselves to see the Earth not as a rigid object, but as a living being that breathes and shifts, we also allow ourselves to breathe more slowly. We no longer need to resist change. Because if even the most ancient rocks are moving, then human change, fatigue, rest, release, is entirely natural. The patience of the Earth is not endurance. It is absolute trust in time. And perhaps, in this quiet moment, as you let this story drift through your mind, you too are relearning how to trust your own slow rhythm. No need to stand still. No need to run fast. Just to drift, safely, within a movement you do not need to feel, but can always rely on. Tectonic plates and their boundaries. And once we have gently grown accustomed to the idea that the ground beneath our feet is never truly still, that the entire planet is drifting within a breath so slow the human mind can scarcely reach it, a natural question begins to arise. Softly, kindly. If the Earth is moving, how does it move, and what keeps that movement from becoming chaos? The answer is not found in violent shaking or dramatic moments, but in the delicate structure of the planet's very surface. Imagine looking at the Earth from far away, far enough that cities, borders, and human-drawn lines disappear. From that distance, the blue planet is not a single flawless shell. Its surface resembles an egg that has been gently tapped, not shattered, but cracked into large and small pieces that fit together. These fractures are not signs of weakness. On the contrary, they are what allow the Earth to live, to breathe, to shift. The planet's surface is divided into immense slabs of stone, each carrying a fragment of the world's story. Continents, oceans, plateaus, and even depths untouched by human footsteps. These plates do not float in emptiness. They rest upon a deeper layer, where rock is no longer rigid in the way we usually imagine, but becomes pliable through deep time. It is this pliability that allows the plates to slide, compress, separate, and collide without tearing the planet apart. From a human perspective, This is stone. From the Earth's perspective, it is a body that knows how to adapt, how to distribute pressure, how to transform energy rather than resist it. Where the plates meet, the story grows more vivid, not loudly, but through accumulation. These boundaries are like joints in a moving body. When we rotate a shoulder or bend a knee, force does not spread randomly. It gathers at places designed for movement. The Earth is the same. The boundaries between plates are where the planet allows itself to change shape, where it releases or stores energy, where geological history is written most clearly. In some places, plates press slowly against one another, like two hands resting together in silence. There is no immediate sound, only pressure building, little by little, over millions of years. Under that pressure, rock does not shatter like glass. It bends, thickens, and rises from its former surface. Mountains are born this way, not as explosions, but as a deep breath held for a very long time before being released. When humans stand before mountains, they feel solidity, yet few realize that this strength comes from movement, not stillness. Elsewhere, plates slide past one another, like parallel streams of thought, never merging, never fully separating. They scrape, lock, and then slip again. Energy gathers in silence until the space between them can no longer hold it. Then movement occurs faster than the Earth's usual rhythm, and humans feel it as a tremor. Yet even in those moments, the planet is not angry. It is simply adjusting, like a body releasing tension after long restraint. There are also places where plates pull apart, slowly and patiently. Hot rock from deep within rises, fills the newly formed space, cools, and becomes new surface for the world. There is no destruction here, only renewal. Oceans widen this way, millimeter by millimeter each year, without witnesses, without announcements. The world grows in silence, like a living being maturing in sleep. What is remarkable is that all these movements, however different, follow a shared rhythm. No plate acts alone. Every motion draws another into response, like muscles within a single vast body. When one area stretches, another contracts. When one region rises, another sinks. The Earth is not a machine, but a living system, where every part is connected through relationships deeper than surface shape. Seen this way, the phenomena humans often fear begin to take on new meaning. Volcanoes are no longer wounds, but breathing openings. Earthquakes are not rage, but necessary release. Mountains are not obstacles, but memories lifted upward. When perspective shifts, fear softens, giving way to understanding. And understanding, when carried on a slow rhythm, always brings a sense of safety. There is deep comfort in knowing that the Earth is not chaotic. It has structure. It has boundaries. It knows where force can be held and where it must be released. Like humans who learn to listen to their bodies and recognize their limits, tension does not need to become injury. This planet learned that lesson very early, and it practices it continuously, without pause. As you lie still and allow your mind to drift with this story, you may notice a gentle parallel. Within you, too, are boundaries. Places where pressure gathers. Places where movement is needed instead of stillness. The Earth does not demand perfection from its plates. It only asks that they continue to interact, to adjust, to remain part of the whole. This foundational truth does not require complex terminology to matter. Simply imagine the planet as a body moving slowly, its great joints shaping themselves through deep time, and you grasp the essence. Every familiar landscape is the result of these quiet encounters. Every form of stability is built upon controlled movement. And every lasting beauty needs boundaries in order to exist. In this quiet moment, with nothing to do but listen, you can let the image of the earth assemble itself in your mind like a living painting. Massive stone plates touching not to destroy, but to shape. Boundaries not as divisions, but as places where the story grows most vivid. And the entire planet, in its ceaseless motion, still holding a rhythm slow enough to sustain life, stable enough for you to safely let go, allowing yourself to drift without fear, without control. The earth is moving, but it knows what it is doing. And within that knowing, we can find a deep sense of trust, as if resting upon a vast, warm body, breathing steadily beneath us, carrying us through time without requiring us to stay awake and watch every step. The slow pace of change, and once we have grown comfortable with the idea that the earth is assembled from immense plates that know when to touch and know when to keep their distance, a very gentle feeling begins to arise. It is not overwhelm, but reassurance, because we begin to see that every movement of this planet has a rhythm, a limit, a delicate self-regulation. Nothing happens in haste. Nothing exceeds what the earth itself can bear. And here, we begin to sense what matters most: speed. If the earth could speak, it would likely avoid grand words. It would simply whisper about time. Because time, not sudden force, is the true protagonist of every geological story. The massive plates carrying continents and oceans do not rush forward like ships. They drift so slowly they appear almost still to human perception, so slowly that you could live an entire lifetime, and many more after it, without seeing change with the naked eye. And it is precisely this slowness that creates a deep sense of safety, much like knowing that night will not vanish abruptly, but will give way to dawn in a familiar order. There is a comparison so simple that anyone can feel it, even without scientific training. The Earth's plates move at roughly the same speed as your fingernails grow. Each day you notice nothing at all, but over time, you look back and clearly see the mark of life. In the same way, the earth does not need to impress. It does not need to prove that it is changing. It simply continues to drift, trusting that time will do its work. What makes this comparison so gentle is this: fingernails grow without pain. They do not alarm you. They are a natural, quiet process, unstoppable, yet requiring no control. When we understand that slabs of rock weighing billions of tons move in this same kind way, our fear of the earth's change begins to dissolve. The energy they carry is immense, but it is released at a slow rhythm, slow enough for the world to adapt, slow enough for life to take root and flourish. There's a beautiful paradox in this movement. The slower it is, the longer energy can accumulate. The more patient it becomes, the deeper the result. The highest mountains, the widest oceans, are not products of violent moments, but outcomes of persistence stretched across millions of years. The earth does not leap. It takes small, steady steps, like a very slow dance that only time can witness in full. If you could observe this planet from the outside over a long enough span, you would not see sharp jolts, but a fluid motion, almost artistic in nature. Plates slide past one another, separate, then pressed together again, like dancers in an ancient slow dance. There's no rush, no leader or follower, only a rhythm held steady, regardless of the changes unfolding within. This dance needs no audience. It began long before humans appeared, and it will continue long after our last footprints fade. Yet strangely, no matter how small we are still invited to share in its feeling, not through our bodies, but through understanding. When we realize that the earth changes more slowly than any human worry, our breathing begins to slow. When we understand that the greatest energy does not need to announce itself, we allow ourselves not to hurry. Time, in this story, is not something that takes away. It is something that gives. It allows hard rock to become soft in its own way. It allows pressure to become form. It allows movement not to destroy, but to create. There is no countdown, no deadline, only a flow so long that everything eventually finds its place. Perhaps this is why, when we think about the Earth's slow movement, we feel such deep comfort. If an entire planet can change without rushing, then humans do not need to chase every moment. If the most ancient stones allow themselves to drift, then resting, releasing, or pausing is not failure. It is part of the natural rhythm. The Earth's immense energy does not lie in speed, but in continuity. It does not erupt and fade. It flows steadily, like heat spreading from the planet's core, like a quiet warmth that keeps the world from falling silent. And it is through this steady flow that everything on the surface has the chance to stabilize, to develop, and to endure long enough to be called home. As you lie still and let this story pass through your mind, you may notice a gentle resonance. Your breath slows, your heartbeat softens, your body begins to trust that nothing needs to happen immediately. Change, if it is needed, will arrive in its own way, at its own pace, and you do not need to force it or resist it. The Earth's slow dance is not a performance, but a reminder that true strength does not rush, that the most enduring things often unfold beyond our sight, that safety does not come from absolute stillness, but from moving in the right rhythm. Within that slow rhythm, the world is remade piece by piece, and within that understanding, humans too can find a deep place. And within that understanding, humans too can find a deep place of rest, free from the pressure to become anything other than themselves, drifting slowly alongside a planet that has been dancing with time since the very beginning. Continents as drifting rafts, and once we have settled into that slow rhythm, once the image of a planet dancing with time has gently come to rest in the mind, another image begins to emerge, light as mist. No longer lifeless slabs of stone, no longer abstract motion beyond human sensation, but familiar masses of land, places of forests, deserts, rivers, and human footprints. Here the story draws closer, as if the Earth leans in, whispering to us about the journey of the continents. Close your eyes and imagine the planet's surface not as a fixed map, but as a vast ocean of softened rock, upon which enormous land masses are drifting. They do not sink. They do not overturn. They do not hurry. They are like ancient rafts, gliding slowly through deep time, carrying every form of life upon them. On these rafts, forests have grown and vanished, oceans have risen and withdrawn, species have been born, evolved, and quietly passed away. Continents are not merely land, they are the planet's moving memory. To human perception, continents seem immobile. They are too vast, too solid, too familiar. Yet from the Earth's perspective, they are on a long journey without a final stop. At times, they move closer together, like travelers finding warmth in a long night. At times, they collide, not to destroy, but to change shape, to create the immense folds we call mountains. And at other times, they slowly drift apart, leaving behind space that oceans will fill over time. There is no anger or regret in these partings, only continuation. Given enough time, continents can gather into a single mass. A colossal land where coastlines grow rare and interiors stretch endlessly. In such moments, the Earth seems to hold itself close, embracing all land within a single, vast form. But that embrace never lasts forever. Heat builds below, silent motion continues, and then cracks appear, not as wounds, but as necessary openings for release. From there, the rafts separate once more, each carrying fragments of old stories while opening the way for countless new ones. Along this drifting journey, position becomes a matter of destiny. When a continent drifts closer to the equator, it receives abundant sunlight, spreading warmth, heavier rains, expanding green forests. Life multiplies, diversifies, adapting to a humid, fertile rhythm. When another landmass quietly moves toward the poles, light tilts, temperatures fall, and ice begins to etch its marks across the surface. Plants change form, creatures learn to survive the cold or move aside to make room for others. There is no favoritism, no punishment, only adaptation following adaptation. What is remarkable is that continents do not choose their fate. They drift along currents deeper than intention or plan. Yet, it is precisely this unintentional drifting that creates countless pathways for life. When landmasses separate, living beings are divided, unable to meet again for immense spans of time. In that isolation, small changes accumulate, forming new branches of evolution. When continents draw near, land bridges appear, allowing creatures to migrate, meet, compete, and merge. Life, in this way, is guided not by an invisible hand, but by the slow positioning of these immense rafts. When we look at today's world map, it is easy to forget that this familiar shape is only a moment. Curving coastlines, deep bays, peninsulas reaching into the sea like pointing fingers, all are traces of past separations and reunions. These outlines are not random. They are frozen memories of continents stretching, cracking, and drifting apart. The oceans between them are not emptiness, but the planet's open journal. There is a quiet beauty in imagining continents as rafts. Rafts do not resist water. They float through balance. They accept the current, even without controlling direction. And it is this acceptance that allows them to endure. Continents are the same. They do not strive to preserve a single shape. They bend, fracture, thicken, thin, according to where they drift. There is no eternally correct form, only forms that fit their time. Thinking this way, the Earth begins to feel less distant. It resembles a being of infinite patience, never rushing to cling to the past, never worrying about the future. Land masses drift on, carrying shifting climates, adapting life, and events humans later call natural history. But to the planet, all of it is simply rhythm within a long flow. Perhaps this is why, when we place ourselves within this story, we feel lighter. If continents, the things that seem most fixed, can drift, collide, and part ways, then change in human life becomes less frightening. Change is not a sign of loss, but a condition for new forms to appear. Climates change. Life changes. And through this, the world grows richer, not poorer. In this quiet moment, as you let your mind drift with the image of immense stone rafts gliding silently through the ocean of time, you may recognize a familiar rhythm. It is the rhythm of letting go. No need to anchor to a single position, no need to fight the current. Just float, find balance, and allow the journey to unfold. The continents have done this for billions of years. They have carried forests and ice, deserts and plains, tiny creatures and vast ecosystems. They do not know where they will be, in the distant future. And it is precisely this not knowing that opens endless possibilities. Within this slow story, the Earth continues to guide climate, life, and even human dreams. Not through command, but through the gentle motion of ancient rafts drifting very slowly through the quiet universe. The birth of mountains and oceans. And when the continental rafts have drifted long enough in our imagination, when we have grown accustomed to the feeling that land itself can part and reunite like silent travelers, the landscape begins to change. No longer a flat surface floating through deep time, but zones of gathered motion, where slowness accumulates into clearer form. Here, the Earth begins to raise its voice, not through sound, but through images. Images so vast that humans must look up or look down and fall silent. There are moments in the planet's history when two immense landmasses move toward one another, so slowly that no human lifetime could ever perceive it. Yet, inevitably, they do not crash like lifeless objects, but press together, little by little, like two persistent currents of thought finally meeting. Pressure does not explode. It quietly thickens rock, folds it, lifts it from its former shape. From this movement, mountains are born. There is no announcement of birth, no single beginning, only uplift stretched across millions of years, until the horizon changes and the sky gains new, sharp edges. These mountains are not signs of violence. They are memories of encounter. Within them, rock carries traces of ancient oceans, of immense pressure and deep heat. When humans place a hand on a cold rock face, few realize that these layers once lay on the ocean floor, once sank in darkness before being lifted higher than clouds. Mountains do not stand to challenge time. They stand to tell us that time can lift anything, if it is patient enough. Yet while one place is pushed upward, another opens in the opposite direction. The Earth always maintains its balance. When plates pull apart, new space appears. From deep within the planet, hot rock rises to fill the newly formed gap. It cools, hardens, and becomes new surface for the world. This process does not happen once, but repeats continuously, rhythmically, like steady breathing. The ocean floor, therefore, is not an ancient, unmoving land. It is the youngest part of the planet, constantly being born, constantly renewed. If you could descend beneath the water's surface, through the waves, through fading light, you would enter an entirely different world. There, darkness is not frightening. It is quiet. Beneath thousands of meters of water, mountain ranges longer than any on land stretch across the oceans. Yet they do not display themselves. They lie hidden, where new rock is born each day. Cracks open, seawater seeps down, meets hot rock, then rises again, carrying minerals and heat. Columns of hot water surge upward like silent lamps in the deep night. Around these vents, life emerges in ways that cause the human mind to pause. No sunlight is needed, no photosynthesis, only energy from the Earth's interior, from chemical reactions between water and rock. Creatures gather around these hot plumes, building ecosystems in perpetual darkness. There, life is not fragile. It adapts. It proves that the Earth nurtures life not only on the familiar surface, but also in its deepest places, farthest from light. There is a strange beauty in realizing that the same planet creates both sky-reaching mountain peaks and ecosystems hidden deep beneath the sea. Both arise from the movement of rock. One is uplift, the other is opening. One is where humans climb to look upon the world. The other is where human eyes did not reach for most of history. Yet both express the same deep rhythm, the same current of energy flowing from the planet's interior outward. When we stand before mountains, we feel solidity. When we think of the ocean floor, we feel vastness. But few realize that both are changing right now. Mountains continue to rise in some places, while elsewhere they are worn down by wind and rain, sending grains of rock back to the sea. The ocean floor continues to spread, pushing continents apart, carrying land rafts toward new positions. There is no final endpoint to this process, only continuous transformation. Perhaps it is here that the story reaches a quiet climax. The earth does not choose a single direction to express its power. It lifts and lowers. It creates heights that overwhelm us and depths that leave us wordless. And in both directions, life finds a way to exist. Mountains shape wind, rain, and rivers, forming distinct climates. Deep oceans store heat, hold carbon, and sustain mysterious ecosystems. Together, they keep the planet balanced in ways humans are only beginning to understand. As you let your mind drift with these images, you may feel a gentle expansion. The space within you seems deeper, higher, as if the small pressures of daily life change when placed beside processes lasting millions of years. If mountains can wait to be lifted, if the seafloor can patiently be born in darkness, then perhaps you do not need to hurry either. In this story, nothing is wasted. Rock is compressed into mountains, then eroded, returning to the sea. New rock is born beneath the ocean, only to one day be drawn into other encounters. Life appears, disappears, and appears again elsewhere. Everything belongs to a vast cycle, where there is no winning or losing, only movement. And when we listen to this story with a slow breath, the earth no longer feels like a distant stone drifting through space. It becomes a body shaping itself, nourishing itself, balancing itself. Mountains and oceans are not opposites. They are two expressions of the same deep breath. A breath strong enough to lift rock toward the sky, gentle enough to sustain life in darkness, and slow enough that you can safely let go, allowing the world to continue its motion, even as you rest within the quiet of your own stillness. Destruction and renewal, the cycle of return. And when we have passed through cloud-touching heights and shadowed depths, when we have grown accustomed to the idea that the earth both lifts and opens, another layer of motion slowly reveals itself. It is not louder nor more violent. It is simply deeper. At this level, the planet does not only create form, it also knows how to let go, not as an ending, but as an essential part of balance. There are regions on the Earth's surface that are quietly growing smaller, like a slow breath gently drawing inward. Among them, the planet's largest ocean carries a particularly subtle story. No human lifetime can witness it shrinking. No boundary is marked on everyday maps. Yet at deeper levels, where heavy rock bows beneath other rock, its surface is being returned to the planet's interior, little by little. Nothing disappears suddenly. There is only a journey home. What is remarkable is that while one place contracts, others expand. The earth does not lose anything. It only transforms. Matter is not destroyed. It changes roles. Rock that once formed the surface, that once carried waves and living creatures, now quietly slides deeper, becoming part of an internal flow. Elsewhere, new rock is born, lifting continental rafts and carrying them farther apart. This balance requires no overseer. It is maintained by gravity, heat, and time, three forces that never sleep. Within this process, there are moments humans can feel, not with sight, but through vibration. These vibrations are not voices of anger. They are traces. Like wrinkles forming on skin over years, they mark where stress has been held, where adjustment is underway. Each tremor is a brief message from within the earth, saying that energy has been released, that pressure is no longer trapped. There is no intention to threaten, only the necessity of balance. If you could see through the surface, you would discover lines no map has ever fully drawn. Bands of rock descending, plates sliding past one another, regions where stone is stretched, then drawn back together. Together they form an invisible map, always shifting, always alive. Humans tend to draw maps from what appears fixed. Coastlines, mountain ranges, national borders. But the earth holds another map, deeper, softer, where every line is free to move across long spans of time. On this map, there is no concept of loss. When rock leaves the surface, it does not vanish. It enters another role, where pressure and heat continue its story in a language humans rarely read. One day, far in the future, that material may return to the surface in an entirely different place, in a new form. There are no absolute endings here, only transitions between chapters. This understanding carries a deep sense of comfort, if we allow ourselves to feel it. The earth does not live in fear of loss. It knows that everything belongs to a larger cycle. And it is precisely this, knowing that has allowed the planet to remain stable for billions of years. Not by keeping everything the same, but by allowing change to occur at the right time, in the right place. When we revisit the phenomena humans often worry about, we can begin to see them differently. Brief vibrations are not warnings of collapse. They are signs that the system is still functioning. A living body that never releases tension cannot remain healthy. The earth is no different. It needs moments of adjustment in order to continue sustaining life on its surface. In the quiet of this story, we begin to realize that destruction and creation are not opposing ideas. They are two beats of the same breath. When one beat ends, the next begins. There is no frightening emptiness in between, only a gentle handoff, occurring beyond the short reach of human perception. If we allow ourselves to see the earth as a system capable of self-balance, we can also look at our own lives with greater gentleness. Change is not always loss. Sometimes it is simply energy seeking a new form. Vibrations in life are not necessarily threats. They may be reminders that it is time to adjust, to release, or to change direction. The invisible map beneath the earth is never complete. It is redrawn each day through slow movements and rare tremors. And on this map, no region is forgotten. Every place participates in the shared story, whether in the heart of an ocean or along the edge of a continent. The earth favors no single area. It only maintains an overall balance, sufficient for life to have space to exist. As you lie still and let these images drift through you, you may feel a gentle sense of trust. There is no need to monitor every movement, no need to worry about each small vibration. This planet learned how to adjust itself long ago, and it continues to do so quietly. You are resting upon a body that knows how to care for itself, how to distribute energy, how to return what is no longer needed. Within this understanding, fear gradually dissolves, giving way to curiosity and reverence. The earth is not perfect in the sense of stillness. It is perfect in its continual return to balance, even through long cycles. And it is within those cycles that the planet's enduring beauty is preserved. As this story comes to a close in your mind, leave behind one simple feeling: that the world beneath your feet is not as fragile as it may seem. It does not stand still, yet it is not chaotic. It moves through deep cycles, where everything has a place to go, a time to leave, and a chance to return. Within that rhythm, you can safely let go, allowing the earth to continue its ancient work, and allowing yourself to drift along with it, secure within a balance far greater than everyday concerns. The deepest depths and the highest heights, and when we have come to feel the planet's profound balance, where everything is given and received again in silence, another doorway opens. It does not lead us to a new place, but draws us in two opposite directions at once. One direction pulls us downward, deeper, to where light can no longer reach. The other lifts our gaze upward, where the air thins and the sky feels closer. Strangely, these two directions are not opposites. They are two sides of the same story, written in pressure, time, and limitless patience. Let your mind grow still and imagine leaving the familiar surface behind. There is no wind, no waves, only a thickening silence as you descend. With every meter deeper, the light weakens, colors fade, until the world becomes shades of deep blue and then dissolves into complete darkness. There, the ocean floor opens like a vast depression in the planet's skin, so deep that the human mind struggles to comprehend it. The pressure here is not aggressive. It is total. It surrounds everything, compressing water, compressing rock, compressing even the idea of space itself. In this depth, time seems to move differently. There is no day or night, no seasons, only the enduring presence of rock and water, slowly bearing the weight of the entire ocean above. Deep trenches are not meaningless voids. They are imprints of long motion, places where part of the planet's surface has bowed downward, making room for something deeper, darker, quieter. Nothing is hurried there. Everything has rested in its place for a very long time. Now let your mind reverse direction and rise, layer by layer, through the air. You leave the sea behind, pass through clouds, through thinning currents of wind. At this height, sound itself changes. The world below feels distant, like a memory. Before you stand massive blocks of rock rising upward, not as a gesture of defiance, but as patience accumulated. The highest mountains did not appear in a moment. They grew very slowly, almost imperceptibly, little by little, under relentless pressure. There is a mountain range on this planet that continues this journey even now. Each year the change is tiny, almost meaningless within a human lifetime, yet it never stops. Pressure from deep below does not allow rest. Rock is compressed, driven together, compelled to find a path upward. And it does so without complaint, without shattering, only bending, only thickening. Time here is not an enemy. It is an ally. It allows strength to be distributed evenly, allowing uplift to occur without destroying the entire structure. What is remarkable is that the deepest depths and the highest heights of the planet do not exist independently. They are two ends of the same invisible thread. When one place is pulled downward, another is pushed upward. When rock sinks deep into the planet, pressure and heat transform it, preparing it for new forms in the distant future. When rock is lifted high, it carries the memory of those pressures, etched into every layer, every vein, every fold. Mountains and deep trenches are two different answers to the same question the Earth has been asking since its earliest days: how to release energy without losing stability. There is a unique sense of awe when these two images are held side by side. On one side, profound darkness, where pressure is great enough to crush all that is familiar. On the other, the high sky, where air is so thin that every breath has weight. Yet between these extremes, life still finds a way to exist. Creatures of the depths adapt to darkness and immense pressure. Creatures of high elevations adapt to cold and thin air. Both testify that endurance does not need to look the same in order to last. The earth does not favor height over depth, or depth over height. It allows both to exist, each telling its own story. Depth teaches silent endurance. Height teaches slow ascent. Neither is achieved through sudden force. Both are built through pressure sustained long enough, through time that is not rushed, through the patient repetition of the same motion. When we think of the deepest and highest places, we often associate them with challenge, danger, with limits that humans struggle to cross. But from the planet's perspective, these places are not extreme at all. They are simply natural outcomes of processes extended over time. There is no drama in how the earth creates them, only persistence so steady that change becomes certain. Perhaps this is why, when we allow ourselves to feel the connection between depth and height, we learn a very gentle lesson. Pressure does not always destroy. When spread across time, it can lift us up or guide us into quieter inner spaces. Persistence does not need to be loud. It only needs to remain present day after day, year after year. In this quiet moment, as you allow images of the deepest trenches and the highest peaks to coexist in your mind, you may feel a soft expansion, as if the world within you also holds depths you have never touched and heights you have never dared to reach. There is no need to choose between them. The earth shows us that both belong to the same living body. Time, in this story, does not hurry. It waits. Pressure does not coerce. It shapes. And persistence is not a strained effort, but a state of being. Mountains continue to grow, not because they wish to be taller, but because they cannot do otherwise. The depths continue to sink, not because they seek darkness, but because that is where balance is preserved. As the story gently settles, let one feeling remain, that this planet is wider than all small worries, deeper than hurried thoughts, and higher than fleeting ambition. You are resting on a world that knows patience, knows pressure, and knows how to turn invisible forces into enduring form. In that understanding, you can relax a little more, allowing your breath to merge with the earth's long breath, where depth and height are not in conflict, but together keep this world standing. Very slowly, for a very long time. Across time you do not need to measure. Oceans and continents in the making. And while the images of the deepest depths and the steadily rising heights still echo softly in the mind, we begin to notice something very gentle. The earth does not only know how to rise or sink, does not only know how to hold balance between two extremes, it also knows how to begin again. Even in moments that appear most stable, this planet is quietly creating, opening new chapters without drum rolls, without announcements, without needing anyone's attention. There are places on the Earth's surface that look calm and unchanged from a distance. Grasslands stretching wide, lakes resting still, mountains standing silent beneath an open sky. Yet beneath that stillness, the ground is being stretched very slowly, like a deep breath held for too long. Rock does not shatter at once. It lengthens, thins, and allows its shape to change, adapting to invisible forces rising from below. The first fractures appear not as wounds, but as gentle folds, signs that something is quietly preparing to happen. Time here does not rush. It may take millions of years for a region to realize it is being guided into a new role. The land gradually lowers, forming long valleys where light arrives at a different angle, where water begins to gather, where climate starts to shift in the subtlest ways. Rivers adjust their paths. Living beings adapt to new spaces. There is no collapse here, only opening. Within these lowlands, the earth seems to be experimenting. It stretches, then listens. It allows water to enter, then observes. Some places pause in an intermediate state, like an unfinished dream. But in others, the stretching continues without stopping. Hot rock rises from deep below, filling the space, creating new surface, younger, warmer. And if the process lasts long enough, if conditions remain patient, seawater will eventually arrive, flowing in quietly, marking the birth of a new ocean. The idea that oceans are not fixed carries a very different feeling. They are not only inheritances from the distant past, they are also promises of the future. There are places on Earth today where, seen through the lens of deep time, we are standing beside oceans that do not yet exist. Beneath our feet, continents are slowly pulling themselves apart, not from weakness, but because this is the only way to keep moving, to keep balancing, to keep living. There is something profoundly human in this process. A continent does not tear itself apart violently. It separates slowly, like a farewell stretched long enough to avoid becoming a tragedy. In this separation, nothing is completely destroyed. Each part carries the memory of once being joined, while also holding the potential for new paths. The space opening between them is not loss. It is room for something else to appear. When a new ocean forms, it does not rush into depth. At first, it is shallow water, long bays where sunlight still reaches the bottom. Life arrives quickly. Marine creatures adapt to the new environment. Currents form, carrying heat and nutrients across space. Climate begins to shift in delicate ways, influencing surrounding lands. A new ocean is not just water. It is an open system, setting countless changes into motion. What is remarkable is that all of this is happening right now, even though we do not feel it. The Earth did not complete its creative work in the past. It is still doing it, bit by bit, beneath our feet, beneath the oceans, within landscapes that feel familiar. There is no moment of finished, only transitions, where the old and the new overlap in silence. There is a deep sense of hope in allowing ourselves to see the planet this way. A world still being born is a world not yet closed. A planet that can still open new oceans is a planet not yet tired. It is not trapped in its current form. It does not cling to the past. It allows its own structure to change in order to continue nurturing life in different ways. When we think of continents pulling themselves apart, it is easy to associate the image with loss. But under the rhythm of deep time, this separation holds a different meaning. It is a condition for energy to be redistributed, for heat to be released, for new cycles to begin. No separation in the Earth's story is meaningless. Every fracture is an invitation for the future to step in. In the quiet of this moment, as you let images of opening lands and not yet formed oceans drift through your mind, you may feel a strange sense of relief, as if the world is not stuck, as if no state is final. If an entire planet can reshape itself, then humans too can allow themselves to change, to loosen old structures and make room for something new. The Earth does not create through grand gestures. It creates through persistence, through very slow stretching, through accepting fractures as part of the process, through allowing water to arrive at the right moment. Nothing is forced, Nothing happens too quickly. Everything is born only when conditions are ready. And for that reason, this story carries no anxiety. It carries a reminder that life always finds a way to continue, as long as there is time and space. The oceans of the future are being quietly nurtured. The continents of tomorrow are taking shape in the darkness below. The world is not closing. It is opening. As this story settles, leave within you a very soft feeling that beneath the surface of apparent stability, creative movements are still unfolding. That change is not always a sign of breaking, but sometimes a sign of becoming. And that you are living on a planet that has never stopped imagining itself, still writing its story, very slowly, very deeply, and with quiet hope. Even as you close your eyes and rest within the gentle embrace of time. Heat, water, and the power from within. And while the thought of oceans yet to be born still drifts through the mind like a soft mist, we begin to sense a quiet warmth flowing beneath all these movements. Not at the surface, not in wind or light, but far deeper. There, the earth sustains its rhythm through heat, through water, through cycles that never truly stop. If this planet has a heart, it does not beat loudly. It radiates warmth. It circulates. It breathes very slowly. Imagine the earth's surface as skin, and beneath it, deeper layers quietly doing the work of nourishment. There are places where this skin bows downward, slipping gently into the interior. Not because it is weakened, but because it is time to be renewed. Crust that once touched wind, water, and living beings now begins a return journey, carrying memories of oceans, rain, salt, and minerals. There is no resistance, only an acceptance of a new role within a larger cycle. As this crust descends, temperature rises, pressure thickens like a heavy yet steady embrace. Here, matter is not erased. It is transformed. Old structures loosen, rearrange themselves, preparing for different forms in the future. The earth discards nothing. It recycles itself. Like a living being that understands its most precious resource is what has already existed. On this journey, water travels with rock, not as free-flowing streams like those at the surface, but as water bound within minerals, locked into crystalline structures. Quietly, it follows the rock downward, passing thresholds no human can reach. Here, water is not dramatic. It is a silent yet essential presence, like blood in a living body, carrying the power to soften, to dissolve, to change everything around it. When the rock descends deeply enough, water begins to leave the structures that once held it. This moment is crucial, though marked by no light or sound. Water lowers the temperature required for surrounding rock to begin melting. Part of the material becomes lighter, more flexible, and starts to seek a path upward. Not as a violent eruption, but like a deep breath prepared over a very long time. These heated currents move slowly, patiently, threading through fractures, gathering in spaces wide enough to hold them. There, the earth stores energy, like holding breath within the chest. Not every breath is released immediately. Sometimes it must wait, until pressure is sufficient, until pathways are clear, until balance calls for release. And when that moment arrives, the surface listens, not with ears, but through vibration, through brief glows of red and orange in the night, through molten material meeting the air again. Volcanoes, seen this way, are not expressions of anger. They are breathing openings, places where the earth allows internal energy to escape, preventing excess accumulation, maintaining overall stability. There is something deeply reassuring in the way this planet manages its energy. It does not hold everything in. It does not release everything at once. It finds rhythm. Heat rises from deep within. Water is carried down and brought back up. Matter shifts through many states. Everything moves, yet nothing is rushed. If we listen closely enough, we can feel that breath, not as sound, but as a steady warmth. A persistent presence reminding us that the planet is alive, still working, still caring for itself. The Earth's heart is not fixed in one place. It exists wherever heat and matter meet, wherever water helps open pathways for transformation. Within this rhythm, life at the surface benefits without knowing the full story. The atmosphere is replenished, oceans are renewed, soils are enriched with minerals once buried deep within the planet. What may appear violent in brief moments becomes, over long time, part of nourishment. Perhaps because humans live within short spans, we often see these expressions as disruptions. But through the lens of deep time, they are continuations. No event stands alone. Every release of energy is the result of millions of years of accumulation and preparation. And after each release, the system settles into a new balance. When we allow ourselves to see the Earth as a living body, we also change how we view the movements within ourselves. Pressure does not need to be endlessly contained. Emotion does not need to explode. There can be a middle path, where energy is released just enough at the right moment without harming the whole structure. Water, in this story, carries a special kind of beauty. It is not only what flows across the surface, reflecting the sky. It is also a silent messenger of deep cycles. It descends, then returns, bringing with it the power to soften even the hardest things, carrying the potential for change. Without water, the Earth's breath would be profoundly different. Heat, too, is more than warmth. It is momentum. It is the planet's memory from its earliest formation, still present, still spreading. Because of heat, matter is not frozen into a single form. Because of heat, life has room to continue evolving. And between heat and water, the Earth maintains its strength not through rigidity, but flexibility. It knows when to hold and when to release. It knows when to remain silent and when to speak through light and motion. The planet's breath does not seek attention. It exists to sustain life. As this story moves slowly through your mind, allow it to become a very gentle warmth. As if beneath the stillness of night, an unseen energy is continuously at work. So that tomorrow the ground remains, the oceans continue to sway, the sky stays open. You do not need to watch over it. You do not need to understand it completely. The Earth has been doing this for a very long time, long before humans existed, and it continues with great patience. Within that long breath, you can relax a little more. Let your own breath slow, deepen, and align with the warmth beneath everything. The Earth's heart does not beat quickly. It does not hurry. It simply reminds us that life is sustained not by tension, but by enduring cycles where heat and water meet, where energy is given and received again, where everything continues, softly, deeply, within the quiet steadiness of time. Traces of time and hidden history, and while the warmth from deep within the planet continues to spread like a steady breath, we begin to realize that every current of heat, every quiet drop of water, does more than sustain the present. They also write memory. Not the memory of a single lifetime, but of billions of years. In this long stillness, the Earth does not merely live, it remembers. And if we learn how to listen, we begin to see the planet as a vast, open book, where each layer of rock is a page and every mark is a story written by time. Imagine turning pages not made of paper, but of stone. These pages are not aligned, not clean, not ordered in familiar ways. They overlap, bend, break, and reconnect, as if time itself learned to write through movement. Somewhere across the ocean surface, chains of islands stretch out like sentences extended through space. Each island is a letter, each span of water between them a pause. From above, we see a gentle curve, but when we look deeper, we begin to read direction, speed, and even the resting moments of an ancient journey. These islands did not appear by chance. They are footprints of emotion that has lasted too long for anyone to remember. When hot rock from deep below reaches the surface, it records a very precise instant, the direction of Earth's magnetic field at that moment. As the rock cools, that instant is locked in, like a frozen memory. Over millions of years, these memories line up into sequences, stretching along the direction of the surface moving above them. No explanation required, no captions needed. If we look long enough, we can read the rhythm of the past. There is something deeply gentle in the way the earth keeps its memories. It does not preserve the loudest moments. It preserves what endures. Slow changes, gradual shifts, reversals of the invisible force surrounding the planet. On the ocean floor, long parallel bands of rock carry symmetrical, magnetic patterns as if a giant comb were drawn across a cooling surface. These bands tell us where the surface was born, when it formed, and how it moved away over time. As we turn deeper pages, familiar shapes grow strange. There was a time, long before today's oceans existed, when land gathered into immense masses. Not once, but many times. They met, merged, shared climates and life, with inland coastlines stretching endlessly. In those eras, winds followed paths unlike today's. Rain fell where we could scarcely imagine now, and living beings walked across lands that are today separated by entire oceans. These land masses did not last forever. Like all long stories, they had climaxes and endings. Heat built below, pressure accumulated, and fractures appeared, not as sudden collapse, but as a slow decision. The land began to separate, allowing water to flow in, redrawing coastlines anew. Yet even as they broke apart, the memory of their union did not disappear. It remained in matching rock layers along distant shores. It remained in identical fossils discovered on continents now half a world apart. There is something deeply human in finding the same fossil leaf in two distant places and realizing they once belonged to the same forest. But for the earth, this is simply how it tells its story, without words, through traces, ancient skeletons, sedimentary layers, stacked volcanic ash. All of these are writing. Not writing meant to be read quickly, but to be contemplated. Each fossil is a moment preserved where life and geology met. A creature dies, and the surrounding conditions are gentle enough to keep its form. Mud settles, minerals seep in, and time does the rest. Millions of years later, as rock is lifted or worn away, that memory meets the light again, not to astonish, but to whisper that another world once existed here. With a different rhythm of life, a different climate, and different connections. Rock, too, carries its own memory. Crystals rearranged under pressure. Minerals that form only at certain depths. Transformations that occur only when heat and time are sufficient. When such a rock returns to the surface, it brings with it the story of a long journey downward and back again. No signature, no date. Yet to those who know how to listen, every grain of stone says, "I have traveled far." The Earth does not erase its history. It layers it. New stories are written over old ones, but never completely wiped away. Like a manuscript written again and again on the same page, where faded lines of the past reappear when the light hits at an angle. It is this layering that creates depth. No layer is meaningless. No era is wasted. When we realize this, science stops being about memorizing numbers or names. It becomes a way of reading, a way of placing our hands on the planet's surface and feeling the memories beneath. Island chains are no longer just beautiful scenery. They are arrows pointing through time. Magnetic stripes are not just data. They are diaries of an invisible force that is reversed again and again. Ancient rocks are not just material. They are pages folded long ago. There is deep comfort in thinking of the Earth as a book that has never been closed. Even the present is being written, moment by moment, through slow movements we rarely notice. Every step we take rests on thousands of pages already written, and every small change today will one day become a faint line in the distant future, waiting for someone patient enough to read it. In this quiet moment, as your mind drifts through images of islands, stones, fossils, and continents that once embraced one another, you may feel yourself growing smaller in a very gentle way. Not insignificantly small, but placed within a larger story. One that does not require haste, does not demand full understanding. It only asks for presence and for time to be allowed to do its work. The Earth has carried memory longer than any living being. It does not tell its story to impress. It tells it because that is how it exists. And when you listen, even faintly, just before sleep, you become a very small part of that book. A new, delicate line written in the margin of time, where science and reflection meet, where memory is not a burden, but a steady foundation that allows everything to keep flowing, slowly, deeply, and peacefully. Philosophy and a gentle close into sleep. And as the final pages of this book of stone slowly close within the mind, as memories of distant islands, ancient fossils, and continents that once embraced one another settle like fine dust in the evening light, we are no longer standing before history. We are standing before meaning. Not meaning written as a definition, but meaning felt through a very deep stillness. At this point, science no longer seeks to explain. It simply rests a gentle hand on the listener's shoulder, as if to say, it is time to rest. Imagine, just for a moment, an Earth that no longer moves. No heat rising from within, no surface renewed, no old rock returned to the depths to be reborn. Mountains would slowly erode until no height remained. Oceans would gradually lose their energy. The atmosphere would slip out of the delicate balance sustained by long cycles. That world would not collapse with a loud sound. It would fade into silence. And it is that prolonged silence that would be most frightening of all. Life does not need drama to disappear. It only needs to stop being renewed. A planet that does not change is not a peaceful planet. It is a tired one. In the universe, there are worlds like this. Places that once resembled Earth in their earliest days, but slowly followed a different path. One world held onto heat for too long, with no way to release it, until the atmosphere grew dense and heavy, leaving no space for life to breathe. Another cooled too quickly, losing its inner drive, until the surface became dry and still, like a memory frozen in time. When we observe such worlds from afar, we do not see violence. We see the absence of rhythm, no slow breath, no exchange between inside and outside. no cycles long enough to repair small imbalances. And when we place Earth beside those worlds, we begin to understand that what allows this planet to live is not perfect stability, but the ability to change without losing itself. That change is never hurried. It does not resemble the upheavals of human life, where everything can overturn in a single moment. Earth's change happens so slowly, it feels like stillness. And precisely because it is slow, it is safe. Because it is slow, it allows life to adapt, to evolve, to discover new paths without being erased. In this rhythm, nothing is forced. Nothing is abandoned. There's a common misunderstanding that deep movement beneath the ground is something to fear. But when seen through the lens of long time, the opposite is true. It is a sign of health. A living body that remains completely motionless for too long ceases to be alive. The earth moves not because it is unstable, but because it is caring for itself, like a steady breath that keeps every cell nourished. When we understand this, a familiar fear begins to dissolve. Change no longer takes the shape of a threat. It becomes a natural part of existence. Mountains rise and are worn away. Oceans open and close. Continents meet and part. None of these actions are wrong. They are simply sentences within a very long paragraph, where a period is not an ending, but a pause. At the deepest layer of this story lies a very simple philosophy. Life does not need to stand still in order to endure. It needs permission to change according to its own rhythm. And that change does not need to be fast to be meaningful. Sometimes, the greatest meaning lives in movements we barely notice within a single lifetime. If we bring this philosophy back to ourselves, we can breathe a little more lightly. Not every change in life must be resolved immediately. Not every vibration is a sign of danger. Some processes require more time than human patience can offer, and that is all right. The Earth has shown that slow persistence can create worlds stable enough to nurture life for billions of years. In this moment, as the story reaches its deepest stillness, you do not need to remember anything more. You do not need to imagine any new images. Everything that matters has already been placed where it belongs. The earth continues to move. The universe continues to expand. And you, very small yet very real, are resting upon a planet that knows how to adjust, how to heal, how to continue. Let this final thought remain gently within you. Change is not the enemy of peace. When it happens at the right rhythm, in the right time, it is what keeps everything alive. You do not need to resist it. You only need to allow it to pass, just as the earth has done for a very long time. Now, there is nothing left to analyze, nothing left to connect. The story may close, not with a conclusion, but with a pause. Your breath may slow. Your body may feel a little heavier. Your mind may release its last questions and allow them to dissolve into the gentle darkness of sleep. The earth is still moving beneath you, very slowly, very deeply, very patiently. It will continue to do so whether you are awake or asleep. You do not need to watch over it. You can trust it. And in that trust, allow yourself to rest. Sleep well. Let sleep arrive like a natural movement, slow, gentle, and unafraid, just as the earth has always changed for a very long time, so that you can lie here now, safe within the quiet embrace of time.